Hi, I'm Bob Dixon. Welcome to the Leader's Edge Hot Takes edition of the Five Eagles Insight Podcast. For over 3 decades, I served in the military as an engineer and as a strategist, and I learned a few things about leadership. We know that it goes beyond theory. It's about real-world application. So in this series, sponsored by Five Eagles Leadership, we feature industry leaders and share their leadership journeys with you. My mission's simple. It's to help you become the best leader you can be. Now, if that sounds like something you're interested in, make sure you hit the subscribe button so you never miss an episode. If you'd like to be considered as a guest in upcoming episodes, please go to 5eaglesleadership.com/interview and apply today. Now, let's get started.
Hi, welcome to the Leader's Edge podcast, where we highlight leaders in various industries who are great leaders and have great businesses to highlight what they're doing to make the world a better place. Today we have Kevin Landry. He's from Incline Village, Nevada, and he's the CEO and founder of Career Development Solutions. Welcome to the show,
Thank you
Kevin.
very much, Bob. Glad to be here.
Well, I'm so glad that you're coming to talk to us about. I briefly read through what your company does, and I think it's going to make a big difference. Can you give us a 90-second overview of what your business does and kind of how you got to here?
Certainly. How we got here is probably the place to start. For almost 20 years, we were part of the New Horizons Computer Learning Center's franchise network. Up until last October, we were the largest franchisee globally for New Horizons. At that point in time, the franchisor was sold and we separated from the brand. So we were providing IT training and leadership and development training to both businesses as well as to individuals. For the last 12 months, we've had a non-compete where we had to step away from the B2B business, and we've been working strictly in the career development field. And as of this October, we'll be back in the B2B business, going back for that part of the market.
Oh, that's great. And is your market national, or is it specifically around Nevada,
Uh,
California?
for the last several years, we've been focused as a franchisee in the California, Nevada, Arizona, and Utah areas. In the last 12 months, we've been able to expand nationally where programs have allowed us to do so.
Oh, that's great. That's great. It's I think a lot easier for those of us in this kind of business where we help other people get better at what they're doing because of the technology to be able to reach out to a much wider
Agreed,
audience.
agreed.
Okay. So, can you tell me what you think the biggest problem you see in your industry is?
Yeah, that's a good question. In the old days, we were moving at a much slower pace, and so people could pursue an IT certification, and that would suit them for a significant period of time. With AI and technology moving as quickly as it is, the world is evolving at a pace that's very hard to keep up with. We talk about uh, boot camps for programming and things like that. The languages change so quick and fall out of favor so quick, it's hard to keep up and keep relevant. So, in these days, we're looking at programs that are more of a cohort basis where people combine many certificates to focus on a specific area of the job market and hopefully get themselves suited where they can, get ingrained and then grow from there.
Yeah, in such a rapidly changing environment, staying relevant, right? Having the relevant skills that keep up with the cutting edge, because that's what the consumers want. They want the latest. So challenging. So I think when I've got college age kids, and some of them are into a bit of programming, and they're looking at me like that. The curriculum is 3 years out of date.
Hmm.
And I think there's a lot of IT companies that would prefer that you just don't even bother going to college. Why don't you get trained in relevant skills and have a methodology for staying current.
That's very true. I think as a parent, we now have to look at the ROI on a college education. When you look at the dollars that are being spent for it, the debt that's being incurred, if you can direct a kid towards a trade school, whether it be auto mechanic, air conditioning repair, plumbing and heating, or the career of IT, we can take a kid coming out of high school who probably has a fairly sound platform already in the world of IT, get them some industry recognized certifications. They can be in the job force, 6, 9, 10 months down the road with nominal, if not zero, student debt. And you look at where they would be if they went to a traditional college. They're incurring 50, 60, $70,000 a year of debt. They graduate with $250,000 or more in debt with no vision of being able to repay it, and then they have to go find a job. Whereas if you go through our route, a trade school, if you will, they can be working, and in 4 years they could be making six figures. They could have direct reports. Heck, they could be starting their own company and running their own business.
I absolutely love that perspective, and I'm getting a sense that across America we're starting to look favorably upon that route, the going into trades route, rather than accruing 50, 50, 100, $150,000 worth of debt for dubious results. Whereas the trade school graduates tend to be employable immediately.
No, I agree. There's a lot of different types of trade schools. Unfortunately, the funding sources out there in the workforce environment are very politicized. You have what I'd call Title IV trade schools. You have the for-profit trade schools. You've got industry-sponsored trade schools. You've got union-sponsored trade schools. I think there's a place for everyone in every type of school. I think that we should give the voice of the customer, a little bit more credence here and let them choose what's going to be best for them and not drive it. You look at our traditional education system. We have community colleges across America that are offering courses in IT. They may offer it over the course of a semester or a quarter, which is 14 to 16 to 17 weeks. We offer that same course in 5 days. And if we're really concerned about putting people to work, wouldn't we want them off the dole, off the unemployment lines, off government subsistence? And would we want to get them trained, certified as quickly as possible, employed as quickly as possible, and not on the welfare system? So I think we really need to change how we deliver our education. And the traditional four-year schools or junior college programs, I think, need to become more nimble if they want to play in this environment.
I completely agree. I think there's a place for the full academic experience, all the way from baccalaureate up to PhD for particular fields, but for the general student who wants to to receive an education or training and become employable, it's probably not the traditional academic route.
Correct. And I think we need to really look at our high schools and really start the vision there. It's so often, in the world of the traditional high school education, we're teaching kids that the path to success is to go to college. As you said, it is for some people. It's not for everybody. We can't ignore those that aren't going to college. We have lost the trades in high school. We've lost wood shop, tin work, electrical work, auto shop. That was 20, 30 years ago. That was a vital part of our education system. People had to take wood shop. We got some of the greatest finish carpenters in America out of those classes, and here we are now. Nobody knows how to swing a hammer.
That's right. They're not even sure which hammer you need. Um, so is that your ideal customer for the career development solutions? Are we looking in the high schools or college age, or is it a wider audience than that?
I think it's traditionally been a wider audience. We in the career development area have looked at the underemployed, the unemployed, the recently unemployed, those that have been outsourced, downsized, wrong sized, the vet coming back from the service who is been programmed to be a soldier, but they don't do a deprogramming to get them back into society. And we offer, the opportunity to expose them to the funding that's available for them. I mean, 99.9% of our students aren't paying a dime out of their pocket. They're funded with some sort of grant or stipend or, some government program, and they're able to get some certification, get some good education, and get into the workforce. we've been challenged to get into that school system. It's been a problem, and at the high school level, they don't welcome the trades coming in to talk to these kids because it kind of goes counter to what we've been teaching. And if you look at the inner city, you look at the rural areas of this country. There's different demands, there's different wants, and again, I think the voice of the customer should be listened to a little bit more often.
Yeah, I completely agree. So when somebody does find you and becomes a client, what kind of is their journey with you? What does that look like for them?
Well, traditionally, a counselor of some sort will direct someone our way. At that point, we do an assessment, do an intake. Hopefully, they've come to get an IT education and not be a security guard because we don't do that. Nothing against security guards. But you get the student in and you try to put them into a program that is going to build off the skill set they may already have. If somebody has no IT skills, it's going to be a little bit hard sell to put them into a very advanced cybersecurity program day one. Now, maybe 2, 3, 4 years down the road, we can, morph into that. But day one, we probably need to get some basic IT skills. So we'd look at some foundational classes, some foundational certification, something to get them more into an entry level help desk position or something like that, and then we can go from there. A lot of our students come in from the workforce channel as far as the funding, and we get them basic certifications. We help place them in a position normally with our B2B client base, and then they become a B2B customer, and we follow them for throughout their career. And as they get to a next level, their business is not going to pay for their training to get them to the next level of certification or into a different field.
It sounds like a great journey that it's customized, right? It's kind of a bespoke trade education or training that will help them do something that takes advantage of their existing skill sets or interests.
Absolutely, absolutely.
It's great. Um, so there is a lot of online training. There are a lot of trade schools out there. What makes you unique?
Uh, we're focusing in the IT world, the industry recognized certifications that are out there today. We also recognized years ago that one of the biggest gaps in the IT world is the soft skills or business skills. So we've created a learning and development track that really focuses on the leadership part of it. People that tend to, be IT focused. We've got a generation of people that have come up where their best friend is a cell phone. They might be lacking some soft skills or people skills, as we call them, and it's important to be able to have a conversation and talk and make eye contact and know how to shake a hand and less so today, but learn how to dress properly for an interview and things like that. So we try to offer some training there to kind of give it a well-rounded area. One of the challenges we have is a lot of these funding sources are looking for results. So if they're going to spend money for training in a particular area, they want to show placement results, which is a fair statement. And when you're asking these people to pay for soft skills or business skills type of training, you can't really tie that to a specific job placement. So what we've tried to do to combat that is kind of blend it into our curriculum.
Yeah, I think it's a significant challenge. And as a leadership coach, it's my primary job. Is a lot of people say, "Well, I'm already a leader. I already know what I'm doing in leadership." And when you start poking into it, they have a perspective of leadership that they probably picked up from leaders that they've had in the past, which are good or bad, and what they've seen on TV or movies. And so when you want to talk to them about something deeply, a good solid leadership topic that can really change the way they look at their position as a leader, they rarely are looking at it as a, well, that's, I can't tie that to a specific business outcome.
Right.
If you gave me sales training, I could increase revenue. If you gave me management training, I could decrease my expenditures or my overhead because I'm more efficient. But what does leadership do?
Exactly. Well, I think that's the toughest part is because leadership is almost reactive sometimes. If you look back, I mean, you and I are probably a similar generation, and we had leaders that we grew up admiring, like Jack Welch, Neutron Jack, and Jack Welch today would be reviled. He would not be someone people would admire because of how his leadership changed. But the world he was leading was different back then too. I think in the world of leadership, what I learned 40 years ago may or may not be applicable today. You have to constantly evolve as a leader. You have to look at the environment around you. You have to be nimble. You have to learn how to communicate in a manner that's going to be heard, that's going to be received, hopefully in a favorable manner by your audience that you're talking to today. The way we sold 10, 15 years ago is different than the way we sell today. Today's not a situation where you're going to make 100 phone calls, talk to 10 people, and get one appointment. That's not the way it works anymore. We've got sales folks that are successful that never touch a telephone. We got salespeople that live on the internet in terms of social media marketing. We've got we're peppered every day with social media reach outs and marketing tactics, and it's changed so much. But again, we've had to evolve our sales force. Well, we recently had an individual that was probably one of the best salespeople we've ever had, and we made her a manager, and then the leader of an organization. And she was never able to develop anybody to be a competent manager underneath of her, or develop anybody that could be as good as her. And it was frustrating. Yet at the end, we went back and put her back into a sales role, and she had her eyes open. She said, "Oh my God, it's changed so much since I did it." But she had never evolved because she had lost touch with the evolution of the marketplace. She was able to adapt and become, again, the best salesperson ever, but it was that separation from what was reality and the evolution of it. You almost want to make sure that we go spend a day in the live hub so that we can see what it's really like.
Yeah, I have one of my clients is a operations manager and runs a bunch of project managers. And he was one of the best project managers when he got elevated to that position. And he grew naturally into the leadership role, did a great job, has been doing a great job. But every quarter, he takes on one project as a project manager.
Right.
He just wants to stay fresh with, and he wants to understand what it is that his project managers are going through. I think he's a fantastic example of somebody who sees the bigger picture but doesn't want to lose the smaller
You have
one.
to stay relevant.
Absolutely. Yeah. Now, leaders learn from their successes, but more so from their failures. So I know that I have learned more from my failures. I see you smiling. I know there's probably a couple of things that have happened to you or that you have done in the past that you've learned some great lessons for. Do you care to share
Yeah,
any?
I just touched on one. I think one of the mistakes that we've made for generations, and it's not a new one, is you take your best salesperson and you elevate them into a manager position, and your hope is that they can somehow capture that magic in a bottle and make others as good as they were. And if you can make that happen, oh my God, you've got a home run on your hand. One of the alternatives, though, is you take your best salesperson, you make them a manager. Now you've lost your best salesperson and you've got a horrible manager, and people start walking out the door because they don't have the ability to put up with this. And we're sometimes very slow to react to that. Instead of recognizing and giving everybody, hey, I want to give you an exit back so you can go be that great salesperson again. There's a certain indignity to being demoted back to sales, or I failed and oh my God, I can't hold my head up. And I think that we have to find a way to say, hey, there's nothing to be ashamed. You're just so good. And I've coached a lot of young people. My daughter's a great example. She worked with us for years, and then she went out on her own, and she's one of the top salespeople for a payroll services company, and she's one of their top 5 or 10 people nationwide. And she's caught in this dilemma of being this individual contributor that makes great money, and the company wants to promote her to manager. And I tell her, I said, you have the best job. Hold out as long as you can. I would never want to take a manager job today. I'd want to, if I'm the top salesperson or one of the top salespeople, I'm going to keep my mouth shut, keep my head down, and go do my job.
I, there's a lot of. I always ask this question of new clients and when they're in a leadership course, is why do you want to be a leader? And a lot of times I hear it's, well, look, that's where the money is. There's more money in management than there is in whatever it is I was doing. Well, that's an absolute wrong reason to become a
100%.
leader. I also asked him, how do you know you're ready to be a leader? Have you had small leadership experiences that give you those confidence catches that tell you, yeah, I can do that and I will enjoy it.
Yeah, I wish I could say there's something definitive. I think there's these aha moments where you go, after the fact, you're looking at what you said or what you did, and you kind of go, man, I handled that pretty well, or I averted a catastrophe, and what did I learn from that, and how can I make that part of my repertoire moving forward? I don't think you can go take a class, get a certificate, and pat yourself on the back and say, okay, I'm ready to go. You have to have the challenges. You have to have the failures. I think that you hit on it earlier. We learn more from our failures than we do our success. Leading a company through great profitable times is a lot easier than leading a company through a transitional period, through an acquisition, through a divestiture, through a down market cycle, through a layoff. Years ago, we found ourselves during a down cycle, and we had to do layoffs, and you call everybody in, you make the announcement, and when people come up to you afterwards and they thank you for having the courage to make difficult decisions, you've won the room. You've got people who are looking up to you, and they want to follow you. They want to take your guidance, and they're there. We've had a philosophy where we've had to make tough decisions. We've had layoffs. We've had to cut benefits. We've had to cut salaries, and the promise has always been, when we get better, we'll pay it back. We always have. So there's been that time where, okay, maybe we've made a 10% salary cut, but when things get better, we give people the money back that we cut. We may not do it in a lump sum. It may take us some time, but you do those things, and people realize that you've kept your word and you've kept them whole. And next time there's a problem, they're going to be more likely to stand behind you and support you.
Yeah, building trust over time is incredibly important, and it shows in your turnover rate, right? It reflects how much people believe you when you say, "No, I this is a temporary
Hmm.
setback. The market shifted for whatever reason. It may have been my fault. I may have screwed up,
Yep. Yep.
but here's the promise." And if you follow through on that promise, then people will believe you next time.
Absolutely.
But the first time you don't follow through on that, it's like, well, I know we said that, but and we've seen that in some major corporations, particularly I think ones that have caused strikes recently
Yes.
in major corporations where they during COVID said we're just going to ask you to take a step back for a little bit, but we'll get you back, and they didn't.
Yes. Yes.
They repaid the senior
Yeah.
management, but they didn't repay the line and file workers. So
We've always started at the
um,
bottom and paid from the bottom up. Managers are always the last ones to get reinstated.
yeah, I love that perspective. In the military, we always talked about leaders eat last. And I know that Simon Sinek took that to be a very famous speech of his. But my platoon sergeant taught me
Hmm.
that, 30 years ago. And I said, I guess that's fine. That makes sense. He says, no, you don't understand. If we run out of chow, it's not the troops' fault. It's your
Hmm.
fault, and you're the one who should pay the
Right.
penalty for it. And you don't expend as much physical energy as they do. They need the calories. You don't.
Correct.
Right? You will find another way. You have the freedom to move around and find other ways to get fed. They don't. Just remember, always make sure that those resources are going to the people that are going to make you successful.
Agreed. 100%.
I had a very wise platoon sergeant, so I grew up with troops first as a motto. You mentioned, you have to get in there and do things to gain that experience. And I think that's one thing the military does pretty well is they put you in temporary leadership positions in training and give you an opportunity to lead and then give you feedback on that leadership before they put you into the full role. So you're not taking a salesperson who for the first time is in charge of somebody when they're in their late 30s, early 40s, and suddenly they turn around and find out that they're a manager. Um, and we look at it, there's a 70-20-10 rule, right? When you learn a new skill, 70% of that is just doing the thing. 20% of that is feedback, and then 10% is like the instruction. So if you think of a golf
Right.
coach, they're like, okay, I'm going to tell you how to make this swing, and then you're going to go swing, and you're going to swing a bunch of times, and I'm going to give you feedback while you're doing it. But 70% of the time, it's you swinging. And that feedback piece is so critical. And I think leaders do that episodically. We don't do it as well or as candidly as we need to. So that's something that I think is incredibly important. Um, what's the best way for people to contact you?
My LinkedIn page or my email, klandry@careerdevelopmentsolutions.com, or my business line, 714-221-3103. That does forward to my mobile phone when I'm not in the office. So I'm always very good about getting back to people. I may not answer, but I will get back to them as quickly as I can. As you can appreciate, we are moving around a lot. It's a pretty dynamic world, and I for one have gotten away from the 8 to 5. I seem to have a 7 by 24 work schedule these days, depending on where I am in the world and what's going on in my world. So
Yeah, I love the fact that technology allows us to work from anywhere. And now the struggle is, can I work only when I want to from where I want to?
yes, yes.
Yeah. Uh, Thanks so much for being here. Our guest today has been Kevin Landry from Career Development Solutions. If you are interested in learning skills, either leadership development skills or IT skills, give Kevin a call. Check him out on LinkedIn or on his website, or send him an email. His contact information will be in the show notes. Kevin, thanks so much for being here. I really appreciate it.
Bob, thanks very much for asking me. I appreciate the opportunity to speak to you and your audience.
Thanks.
Take care.
Hey, thanks for tuning in to the Leader's Edge Hot Take Series. I hope you found today's insight meaningful, valuable, and that you're ready to put them into action. Now, if you enjoyed the episode and want to keep improving your leaderships, be sure to subscribe so you don't miss out on any future episodes. I post new content every week, packed with strategies, tips, and real-life examples to help you lead with impact. And remember, great leadership isn't just about guiding others, it's about continuously growing yourself. If you'd like to be considered as a guest for upcoming episodes, please go to 5eaglesleadership.com/interview to apply today. Keep pushing, keep learning, and I'll see you in the next episode. Be awesome.